So, when Salomo dedicated the temple, on that occasion God installed a red hot telephone, a hotline to heaven, in case it was needed. And the conditions he specifically mentioned were, well, if there's a pandemic or a drought or all sorts of locusts eat up the land, well, then God said he would pay attention, and if the people who are called after God's name, if they were to humble themselves and pray and seek God's face and turn away from their evil ways, then, and only then, God would hear from heaven and would heal their land. Now, I've been a bit puzzled why this hasn't been talked more about in the pandemic. But I will say more about it later. Right now, the most important point for me is to do that first step. If my people who are called after my name, they humble themselves and pray, well, that's step number 2, comes later. So it doesn't say humble others, it says humble yourself. So that's like me, myself. And as a scientist, I've done quite a bit of pandemic research and all sorts of other research, and I'm very excited about it. But usually what scientists do is they try to understand things, and the last thing they want is, well, babbling stuff. That's nonsense, weak, not understandable. Now, interestingly though, God has a way of using all sorts of unconventional means, let's put it that way. So in Psalm 8, verse 1, for example, it says that out of the mouths of babbling babies, God creates an enormous amount of possibilities and power in order to essentially overcome the avenger and the enemy. And that line of thought continues in the Apostolic Writings, where, for example, Paul says that God chose the foolish things to confound the wise. And in a similar line of thought, God chose the weak the view of the weak, or the weakest possible, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is enough, is what God says to Paul, because my power is perfected in weakness. And, well, Paul prayed 3 times and got 3 times the same answer. So that sounds like he wasn't particularly happy with that answer. Also given that he literally says an angel of Satan was beating him up. Well, that whatever it was, it probably wasn't fun. So, but God says, my power is perfected in weakness. And that's compatible with Zechariah 4:6, where it says, it will happen not by might or by force, but by my Spirit, says the Lord. So, the winds of change, subtle, and not forceful. Like Elijah went to meet God, and there was a big storm and fire and earthquake and whatnot, but like God was not in it. But then there was a very silent sound and peaceful. That was where God was, to the surprise of for the prophet of fire. And to round all that up, Jesus started his sort of constitutional speech, the Sermon on the Mount, with 8 super important principles. But like the first of them is, blessed are those who are spiritually poor, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, I always thought that sounds sort of like nice and welcoming for, well, everybody who doesn't feel on top of their game. And yeah, that's intentional. But it took me forever and a day to realize that Jesus never expected anybody to do anything that he wasn't doing himself. So that begs the question, how on earth was Jesus spiritually poor? And well, it took me some while to figure out that it was Jesus' way of saying what Socrates said when Socrates said, I know that I know not. Which is much less than knowing nothing, by the way. And so like my way of saying it is well, I personally at some point realized, studying the semantics of nothing, that I do not know, not even nothing. So apparently Jesus lived in this. And that is very humbling, because we don't control. We can't control. But if you swim in that river of God for a while, you sort of learn to relax a little bit, because you realize, oh, I am not drowning. And God is there. So anyway, back to that red telephone that God installed in the temple. Now, as we all know, the temple is sort of gone. Double disaster. So first temple gone, second temple gone. And so one might ask the question, like, what does that mean? Well, there are 2 ways to look at it. One is, you need the temple in place. Well, the other way is, oh, that temple has been virtualized. By now, you probably don't need to walk very far to find accidentally a molecule or so of that temple somewhere around. So, as you know, by faith all things are possible. You can grab that and, or, well, I don't know what you can, but like I can. And I intend to do by saying, God, you installed that red telephone back then for these dire emergencies. We are in about as dire as an emergency as it gets. And so I'm at the end of my whatever I can say. Because the thing is this, a lot of people who are much wiser and can talk way better than I have tried to explain, hello, here is a way, this is what we need to do to, say, not shoot ourselves in the foot or head or whatever we are doing as humanity currently, or about to. It's not necessary that we don't have to do this. We could sort these things out. There are ways to do that. Well, what can I add? I don't know. But so what I want to add today is something that I borrowed from the Hebrew prophets. You can read it up. They did these things called prophetic acts, where they did something, and it wasn't just the thing they did. Nope, they did the thing, but it was linked to a sign of something. And, well, I hope that God makes something out of it. But whether God does one way or another, or whichever way or no way, well, as a WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, I have to say, well, I think this whole thing about humbling myself in light of everything that happened, has happened, history and whatnot else. So I think that is quite timely. So that's why I thought before, and I hope to write up my research quite soon and like present a more orderly account. But before I do that, I thought I will present it in that heavenly prayer language that God has given me. And, well, it really sounds like a babbling baby. I don't know what God makes of it. God doesn't really have to do anything. God doesn't need me or anybody for anything at all. But the funny thing is that sometimes God seems to be more interested than we in working with us. At least that's what I find in my life. And so somehow God got me to this point where I'm doing this. And so it's God's thing. All those who know my life know that my life is about as ridiculous as it can be anyway. So I'm German, I'm not funny, so I'm not good at explaining the jokes, but there's tons of them. So I will present my scientific talk in a language that I do not understand, and maybe it's the language of heaven, maybe it's a language of earth. I have no idea. I frankly also don't care, because this is really about, actually, it's about me doing what I have somehow become convinced that God wants me to do. That's really it. Now, I've done enough statistics to sort of know that, like, if I do something like that, and people listen to it long enough, they're bound to find a word or a fragment or something that means something in who knows what language. Just hold your horses. First of all, wonderful for you. Grab whatever you want, as long as God speaks to you. Just make sure you have a sanity check in there, that what you think you may hear is actually gentle and kind and reasonable. Those three things. Everything that Jesus did was gentle, kind, reasonable. And so if you think that I am saying something that doesn't amount to gentle, kind, reasonable, I ask you respectfully, do not take it. Now, I hope that's not the case, but I don't control what I say when I speak in that language. And also, God says in Deuteronomy that sometimes God seems to test people whether they're actually serious about this whole God thing, and seems to test them by sending them something that's actually really not reasonable. So it should be something that we can figure out. And well, I hope that if that's the case, that you will pass your test, and that you stay gentle, kind, and reasonable. And I'll talk some other time about why these three words really belong together and are really important. Now, as a scientist, I would not accept less than if your secular newspaper believes that I talked in language X, then okay. Short of that, sorry. There was no doubt on Pentecost when the Spirit of God reversed this confusion of Babel. However, well, people still made their jokes about it. But also some people heard. Now, the interesting thing is, from personal experience, sometimes one person speaks and different people hear different things. So, anyway, my point is, God rules through babbling babies. It's of paramount importance that before anything else happens to save the country or save the world or whatever, that we humble ourselves. Because we don't even know, I don't even know what's right. Well, do I really know what's right in what I say here? Well, I hope God help me, save me. So here's a prayer that I've recently developed to sort of hopefully um, get out of the clutches of uh, what might be called the Laodicean church. I found, for various long reasons, that I have to identify myself with that and own its mistakes and actually work to change them. And one of the things that they did is they were like super relaxed about everything. Hey, they were rich, no need for anything. But spiritually speaking, they were so embarrassingly poor and wretched and miserable and naked and like lacking in everything that yeah, it was just like a very sorry show. And interestingly, the main point that characterized their states is something that later on got became a big part out of in medieval theology, which is this thing called Arcadia, which is just well, you keep going, doing whatever you do, whether it's an activity or a non-activity doesn't really matter, but like it's this sort of like inability to shift your frame of mind, and I need a lot of help in getting out of that. So kumbaya, real way, kumbaya. Show me what is your key for this hour and place to save life on earth. Let me walk your way. Let me focus on what's your way to live. What's your narrow way? What is your main thing? What's gentle, kind, and clear? Show me how to grasp your main thing to me, for me, and to keep it as my main thing to be. Grant me grace to love with each logic's mind, heart, soul, strength combined, that I worship thee, true reality, in eternity. So it's, you could say, a long-winded way of saying, God help me to keep the main thing the main thing. And while I have some ideas about what that might mean, which I will try to pack into that paper that I'm writing, I don't really know whether I haven't maybe deluding myself in like either substance or maybe in how I'm planning to present it. So maybe God has a different way of saying exactly the same thing, only a billion times better. Because, well, sorry, that was an understatement. Yeah. So, whichever way, I hope God makes it clear. Whatever needs to be clear. So, and I've chosen a green screen in the background, and maybe I don't know, should I step aside so that, but anyway, you can video edit this later anyway. My point being that I don't have slides. God doesn't need slides anyway. But I will give an about hour-long lecture now. And, well, so about the state of affairs and the state of the world and what needs to happen to maybe not blow it up, hopefully. So, at the end, I will have a blessing, which is what I call a excerption from a combination of like what Aaron used to bless Israel, what Paul used to at the end of one of his letters, and then some combination I was inspired by something that was at the beginning of the Quran. So, well, good luck, and all of those who expect to hear understandable English, you're welcome to zone out. Oh, one last thing. You could also consider this an art form. If you've ever listened to K-pop, you'll realize that their lyrics aren't entirely understandable either. So, if you struggle with understanding what I might be doing as a scientist, well, maybe as an artist you could connect to it better. Either way. Okay, so, and I'm not entirely sure what the topic is either, so we'll see. Noel elgobilion rebidus dueresal oricopes al omestus oleparitoni미so. Nemoratal colipedinol aricomelcor horstli chachimocem chachium chatitum companichat. When olgegem on bicochamel comicochamega ecomachoquain to my ecomel olcovaraham elocoprachil plecumbar tetolacadimilca. Meriol alcobert ilocobrecondai opetinoisam aistuisoi comatupitio jummer tomas of lobocomatim do jumka, nibitioval elpari hatromicotum prechamasa. Well, prestisal estimil cosel calahami. Heliopiola ply, and matibito, yolagui. Wino ostipis, alcobistolohobe, alcalihabistosha. Situtum maisacha, jacopiciliohop. Yalocotim yachot tingrasumi equal candima yorchum. Nidol alcolioprech canibugustil chabla, yecolaclam brochom brekich tabla clacham, gerofahian blechabachempicol corabachibla. Tevola hamri alcominid, alicotalkim, aricolcalkim, hariochim. While ips alipistos, eloquative sleep laclop latlum tinomach. Tinoberteri palchombertus, alcorisalciam, ercodisalciam, dolcodisalciam, eliclopaciciolcibetiliofasicibelical-calabaricham. Riconoitoire paritorasil, vero osse calales ol orbitium cilocloma. Irupachum jum. Vedi olesam elis hossel clabla habrigili hobecalcala. Ericol calihocelagla itopas el alisola plahatichomla itomalachat simble gotijola sel al oleberstashala. Crivosa jebelachatib slibe hablichobasaltam. Tevarichal ebedi ostas jebicos daibedisai. Regionai preotam stelogocalcem carhopja irubakelke hamal. Ricola hilagra placomer hatchimbilkili hambortoi pariclacrem tolai hamborochem. Ecrubich dilicot hoiteral clichadubigol han ilubrachim. Bilochadibiricam go hobegol haninja alcoholicalindia aloi ol ostiliama. Telia obrecha ore ol imiailum. Willova, acumistol al obey. Ore el oidel ecrurial chiltia. Tinovaritiam. Tinovarit ichtiala pocotinistal. Cridus el ordi salabri ichtop salicatel hamital calamiental omberial tomperahandas. Tivara epia himbe copaitio mateshal. Criboch talekabijas alcore pech de livras. Tivola habresto la bra el borachich lablico barosso. Tevia perro intema selhemenemi finja fasoptia malaglamma etomi bibli. Wari I bleico maristeslich, weli I proistella grammastasapa. Wekori beido pastella brakinjelep, eri ol perkindil kanya tjenja solko prest shalagris odeta. Recrona gilik jacham algori hanjomaro. Tony miki piomle Tony bicole beite. Weli I bolochobe a pachti placrum best shamosi plamasi. Pino vas il obresho placum peripistum. Perico ciancioma capel cam preco manastrisolo braclep, stallo program plera cramch, delepacum pore plengi, salcore pestol lora becem, kebere bichtum prigola frachamba. Welo oi boitelabre, murblima. Weli ipstobal sel alle alcodibili colligibra. Ricola I presashtu besol cobri hambrogram. Kino oirebla ebri ol caribil, eri ol aribil ar olber hamber codobatemia. Ricoch talagareham, ricola kiro habrakrup. Crino ol kerada hemba, keri ol haberashap, ricoch talagrim al coresala. Kivaras tailebrechan plegro mahabchimegel kabratchimelicacho bereclamboco pechadi ibido bolocoba. Nonimi Irel Evriola pre eblahumasle. Nimbordene mintim jalaba humbel kulgaba helja betolja obertil loribil kobel galgab el gumenidil kamatigola halebla laika bachumbel kota plaglaniti libiha. Ripolakam bortera hakligronasta slabrohom bestschla. Neo portim mestidla rebiloka petiro balahamra. Neoropes oleberesil, neobarista. Recociala crembesti shalabrahendis til leide parim veidambo prendestasce. Tivola foibe opalci tulebras albertis sombra glembra shelabogobes alvoro hambe de ginle. Rivoltim brisa ombestis solo barselcam. Ningore tai belptu blebucomustasal obresol paris albertunores al compartire nel polapendel campatilaire. Nivloro melcha erobakel calai hal hamble clobrahambal compertore chalamia. Rivo ol erbelichambra estibishil corterra palclablach. Tivola ahabengon gressai gressingis al combertiogis al hamstilogari mistis. Tivori hei ebresh ol abri ol barendubastasa. Kivot erropra chambal cumbrechum partiro costembrechan el cumbantiro santum. Naruso yopcha ubel ole elvim am enlulali. Nemili orbel harep chibilaga hampstelabagochab. Tivola habrakimiti chil kabaraham oropechela cumbel compartenbera sal cambraham. Neborigal yapocumber simja. Nibora habe cumbre canjum blacho bogobostisha woketimia. Waikola preo machulo bregobostisha corecham haboro subchicalabrohum. Tevola brahim alo morimin. Moi rebel gumbredolam. Ribol erbali ol bragino baltombera saltora hamathal. Noine meore. Noe o me oemenarsu. Wel durop solchabaracum. Kri ost jaluchre. Kiro bal hoberestas al obrecumberstis salabracum peruchumberstis salabra. Recol cambro hoprechumalegam al ore bastu. Bre umbertonomusel camber hitchavlacrum haberical cambra. Recol caipedo jolcorem. El cuvericumbre custul brechambartis al camberdam ora passa. Niborecham jeder jolcam peria blogrem algemindim, argumendortem melorgemindal. Nimroi quaniis ol esula gitola stampiogore pest slapra. Libor elvartam barahambla, ricola pre emplamuri tambro tazidov. Tivolosla, Wari ibla ubrio kip elcobere habro cremblachem. Clomechal elga habrachan chast stapuco bechu chabagachum. Cribo oi chobre cochondoi convertim hole begamptum. Rico chalagre pestis lava hombechum plegrum ahastisha il coros solo hobestu. Rochela solacram blechabra ilocorum belchambro comachum. Qui vola habregol comprede palchamaure ubugum broibel bolto blobre imblam portimela. Nivo oeves olbarasti, ribo oseila bagobestisha. Weinemer orbes shildis immissi jomblaham. Walape emal parami himbel abricostashal albrasso balaham. Keivara apri guertibel habro pastibel capatubera hastibel hambe yopaga. Ye boy combartinus salda passam. Nieme oegas algore saie el gore satirus satjombres. Nindolo preinomas el albarasi. Elvorasa, elgogorgimbas, telabagasil, talogerisinimist, palogorginilibimbra, plevogamberetinimiltum, bare anbesole becopostopal the hopre, slapre, jokje, bla 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 habadibi. Many ol prelop, beri olte marasalto me hambres. Nengora sinjal correbella habrom belchabares. Meinum bertambers hambreklap. Nimbers dambella hambrek rohpati jeep de coppam. We umpati erpili dumbres pastulli barasum. Weine partile vela cubret tolbaraham. Recolashti blessel algala habares saltambacupestus. Lepocopertil abraham pori halobreglembla hopel coperos salabraham. Eborohop gemalacri pelovare iploi blambloboho. Neberi oikamas ilebeu selkumba idibestulgaba elbekulgaba hableglakumber dielkap elifioli Hueli hybris blegrubilis legorisim Leberisa albert hasi leblatlaham Temeri hambrekrubrangi saltora salhamaris Raimundo salkumberstal habrennus salkami alporehalia Jelohobraiste salco per talabaraham blehumbrastaba. Jebrogasti sallo begostupa. Megore salchim, ricolgie nuiterasan, cemeri salcore hamle og jongostasha. Neborahal erbel hobregolom baste salabragam ho. Rabangum berhobek brangum bertus solo baraham. We ola brami hindu brasti preslogrobestus shobohom. Cer ilga tarehal alcobartelaham el habelehita blocom pel caraberi himbla. Rebol el parapindo barham breglobraham. Repos talabraham ero alcumberi ul temaru salabraham. Tengor teguri soitemesul erstpisel loftevethel. Lehabresel cambera samchimi. Wacumbes duthi velachas labla. Rebo ostif sabliche. Rebos kelkebrechem bla cumbertillaberche, erucupcelabra cumbertilo bredol compradi dos saltama. Riprombel cumbertare himbla, eri olcabraham pasti brossoi e juel kinumbras, nelbul tol kibrucha dabjim. Queno orebes alobracha brinjas, lebo orpelagli blocom per kelkilinia al coton gela blocom bechan la glob lechan la bloc la chip 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 la glob la ble bla 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 prem mel por pelgami algebistul habidista crebo astis lebrecam porea plagro me halberigo brechom bregramal Wero upstella brachas ol cober handupaso obregolo pagle blabogomalpa obelepichem Wedvis olberistent in jom joroch. Nobit elgumbresae ambrisun jolebala, neighbor subje ido salcadi jolebrekal ido lachre molacala. Recol carecham kenimiti celciamarat stebish salabracrembla. Lipor timbertamaresal arbilio al illubat ginja. Tibora haple e doste shabaku brecunimisul para. We oi celebra el copiora chamblecrum pambedoresal, grido sal graris, guido basquiro sal loprestisha, tibor septembel comprecembel caripingel cabastasha, lebe programat stebla habajombel corama. Nebra hombres to sholobre colcumberi hablugrum malhobarai delham. Meir balcum bredo la hambres tu labra hombes tu lubra cumpel brombos to sobal. Beri ilabra umbergon lebra pahambro. Reiporo bandos da lobris. Ne mortalem elguberichin. Well obestolores alguberstis alabrasto. Ni more daemon aslam. Ne bere ipstu lagrib salgari hendiksam. Wei ore subtu libere calcurial patara mel hambrenos. Where ipsoibadash il borasil olga par halberesam. Oli embedeb alvagum biam. Nimbo daiberit olpariatum. Wedo obest lopacum messel plahamastip. Kiber el barti celebre hamber du scholke besennen in nista slova hefenditsum. Tevi di holy paine bartim beste tempenis alafres. Negro fandis tevenis. Nestla blockerim machitore saltam vesalia fanubeco famveris angiolasa. Nevro salices algoli hiplo fanjulufra me mo bestu fanachansa. Nivro hadiprek lovarastin jasasal. Nevlai burton de salca berechambra. Nebari ip jamol gabre sabcobehi o bendos de labrandos. Olbere canium balacopecin laigumal. Legumar gilai hembla glaman. Lebari ham elobare galgam gamgir. Kirup cibilicops elvis dalt labrawasim. Nabari jobelehas labagamel alberi imbrecas te pisilcom bardesalagram bengom perdimistelum megamenorbeletum leglembel. Well, mormered and dom barade lomba gortem. Neberi orbitits. Well, Greek sem gilost sa. Veri hoi bei combredos te shalagris olge brendos shabri compass sholper hasel. Erkilobrail kamasalham. Erwi hombre katambreso pari habrich dobalaga pertumbal hambreso. Nebora heblai kubertimla. Nibola perti milhabestili pristas oblagrimbal kubersticha blahobere kuplabri oribenumpa. Nimbro convertenis alporot jombela. Mertum prencron josten jassel. Nengro best tobre nesdum. Riquel compredabal ambertum milpera mochen belapa combatte beloche betembolo prime. Belprum mocher pici blacrum best shallow curtingatore. Dingre combrechtepas al cumbertum bisol loicrebal. Gribo hobrec chumalegram ero hombrecumastisla. Reputum bel cahabre combortera habstork le hambis dal cama ha. Wecuberdasimile ubisol cabet dor torbel catamla. El cumbertul lobratim shalabracolum mator. Orbeligliboa o bagoboa. Becobisela bagop ebolobagaim alobarab jimilibora. Nibora preninjal ribrojdas goiterosas. Groibis toire barasalgemet stubesti labrashim. Ricol com yeravela ebo ubesti lubrahenemesa. Ribo stalvei balcum aduresa gristonjo brechum bagristosha. Gribus al crechu bri grobri ostibla habrombostibris. Miro bla grumbelga roberjumbla rembast shabocum bertamisa. Wegola frambastobras. Olpere hambro ambicum bertamberisa. Ribosta e bogos salhama. Ribolast e lobagale hamblasta. Kilobara hambla abertima labraham. Bori ebetstibiti solta par salhamari jinglabra kentimbia colobre hamart jublaha. Kilovaratil el vol para hambrecum perium boistemistelsla. Mertibis solcup eruhashilabra. Erueli alvara. Erwil himblogrom palcambersa. Ori enga ongwa omedestum bosle betchum bohwe. Wacom astorisal. Rishologrimasilainim. Nilobertizola habresa. Niborakil combortenabos terrasalabra. Rebus algom beron doston ombardare pistil hambicum stemgilogobream blocrem mistala. Nin bori jol mini galam rambol bori mini joren belda. Joren bel bare malgum bertilja vagum breom balkama. Vre bostival chabi ole bakarami. Aligore al ore balkam bartila baraham sobolochom. Way oberis al oberstilja pochola prachimbliklim blacham bertosto sambala coperstilla haberstilja. Neberi ipstala bragil gabrahembre its tubarichom. Roi kobar hiblagrai albaropi ochola salabram. Nember tumber salkambari ustupjelle brega pagablebraham. Meri iblastablaham partibo shol para salabram. Beiru balperi da talde boclo baplalara, valparate nimbalare, battumaclivala, merivelita nable, borbalette mi, tibi come ubri optimil porasa. Wedi ol predemis over salke mi talke me leiche, lek ol hallivokum eskong jam weichebai, blachum be geikeba, en bochem ben ge geikeba, kwei ook op a geilop, at je lobaki hando krechum parestas. Waid ido stale ejam, quere iblohabras, aribol halabrasam. Wedi imbras celebragomla, cobrivilgam, paridimbla glambetur berjal cobrit, mala ibid govelgalaham and il barambit. Gwedi upstalabra hebre saldo patin calham batis salvaraham, well bari saldo bari codembre salparacho betumbrecha. Wedu culpare embrocha chimolacabra. Repolahambri colcum dahomalekram balcobarhum. Wedo bareshal gumbertula salabra. Givora cambertum weimano movenem wauvenem marbeli yombre balbo gombre boch velupe gilcaso. Erguli sole elbelical yomma vetum pongrera. Ribo jalambra mero alhamia. Nima ompreloba dum brestosha. Cori il orbele hembre lagia mechabdi jongle brahuplestu sal gobertisa? Gobertas sindas de pesal gobertina zol bertimista. Nibos stil jumbes solkevis e jumbes to shongo fatwi niba ol peribiof wa mawe. Moja ome emalba im embor habres. Welo po kibilechem. Welo oi bentor der salg bresib ginlilichem bregos daibegrom. Grio baleber timbre salgo verhabjum. Jevolocha brengla blacham nostamisi, jamasta blachabacum pretzam. Tiboro capel habidu jol pero salvum erusiama. Kiemegi blagori pistil elbere sambrochope, chubacabe hembre. Meiborapel aburco blengropasa. Weli imboirema ebos dil bartumbes dilio berethamniel, ribol ol hoberalha, elohol orbelaham, erohol olvelahar cambor hobregal campahobrekalambaha. Nebore is dubis solgobedis toibik hindopachinjolobrogolum. When oiberi obendu shoberhamrisel. Wedo hebare helgaba. Jevola harbele habrigol gabert shalabragale. Tivore labranch, perubajinjas, nebogarastis, lebogomistas, albegis alim. Wedo umbaya, obe objina bralai. Bori ilvas talabragam. Pariombal, preukrambele. Kerimollar penitsas, meribol doi prenastushom. Wedi oibel arbedi congre angri opret stumstelak lampel kumpal paltumes. Nori, weidumus te jala brechum. Wedi cordere salchanimistis. Weli ibrasti libra alperi per chembedi samja. Wedi idol carabel chabre hob champa copreste cibica presope chambara kipstibele cabresol ombre chinja. Cori ebastomba gatip salagreber sal chaber stile chambreca stile chambia chiere tinias doleberisa. Chiame ibechomele aberutsi blaglom bleco paratimias. Rebus solberasal albora hebraima. Eri illore palcomberto le Abraham olvera habresal. Ari bilgo brecalabertum mersinjal. Jeboro jove algom bestu vinos tal voivara habre vol vocape o bardemia. Periol barin al samaras al homeres. Homeres sangribela hombregla. Ari biligim belgom brecarimo hombra solpara. Toriel berdora capasi jolcum bertana sol hamaro compestus. Que watimbestor shovala habre sumbre clubre ala medibile bala emba ope nguaco amore dal tambari golgo hameres. We o masti jolora capasi quala grom masili. Eligus taligrum pliglavlo hambalindi. Yellow galgala marihandia blagrum. Eimo venamos olbarisimia. Hilda partamasti libras. Wigo bastis labrogum bessal hamare shalabragum bihibregum bestis libre. Nengrum malcombre golgum beretinde bessal oberut shumbregost shalabra. We golgalahamar elbora hambre. We dombras dinosa. We dombras dinosa liber stilda bastin salgium jola habas. Eribol orbela bregol amberti mal bremo hobre. Meru po jomble galamba hombre combestis labaha. Grubel bertemilasam. Erogal gementem blegrem bistil obre hambre gumburtorum melberim belingrum bastashaleblim. Merbelichum brecol bretamasel. Tivala fuerebil arbele ingro basteloinas. Weinomer dim jezoiberasa. Jobicho loiberal albore hembroi compges subjalabres. Welbro obrel dumbela halvel albagilelva. Robi el oripisil as dumisal lopre de hombrasa. De hombras il piachop gilobagum el vachum. Well, oribil orbela cram hinila. Nebi oi gel gom brest jobagum bet junjoblagelegam dinjom legrom batum best durepsilichims elgubisil de pesaldo verasalchamelegam rosal dopretal. Nevatum jemonomoromagim logum jalgeministel angel obalagum isulia velaham olbere hamblogalam. Regol kali ira pal hobere hal alborahacham regol alberi itstolabraham bin quarimal. Velibiridum jueleras, nelli iber stilisa, dedus elgubis al obersa, veri idiom basti jom pariatim jasopa. Neveri hombresalava, leveri volgum janagim velgum anistal, neveri calcum batiru pranjolach branechem, erbugo breo pacombers, reob al erumalasim algum berturipas, Cribos arstibele sangro hom bengon tronemestesa. Tromedigalafrich ambogola caprasim. Ligus te jopresal obre somchala. Ribo o hombre col comber tenaris. Engros tim brecht lobraham barduresam. Rebo galchum elgo barahamblo. Rebo alachtum blagumali hembla. Merbele harem blagumanindal. Geborgum grera, com gortem, balgorski, lortem, bisochi, wagwi, gola cabel, ol erovalachas, ero obre hambogo timbili crambanda gildama, neber simlagrum pelachambrasa, veo obres al ubsila. Teomanista lavrem vatasti, felivelipo, felivelichempla. Veni imbros salco, verhitjam blagrum pel hobarachap, erubas stupridujum. Vedu soe elvestui, brigola pastil, camaridu blambroda. Ved ilda poremanumbre, olcum pertanabre nostalgiam, erico jal erdis algodis salcum elgubershaliam, jerugontis turimasium, jorabigiliam, bogobertis labracum siliama. Vela prim bordevan dimio salopra, salgomes sol baranesa. Nelomashumlas elgamia sondobitium wasam. Nebacille bechalabigol hambre. Legorichon bla hubigelicha. Lebogo swelle evstubushil cover still hobble glom blam blom blom glom. Melebarem bal hombela juliam bacompre. All compecompi stolla habresol paraham. Guani imbarus jol bresal. Mingom bressol combressol chamberu shal gambrastam cham guarishom. Guari ugro hobagel obriol arbil engro salopestus. Mendum brestub gillum brestub jale. Welle ibestala cobere sal hab chabel chambalicolo pagini vil habaja. Elivele hebres alberus subchal. Gribol olvere dimur dimezimia. Dimur dimastillo bejal gumberture sala. Meriolo brembel cambarahale. Wero itambore salcama. Veri ivo omano. Mberi belportum bretum alla habrigol caberes il tabarahare slabrogomesta slabogobach edu balcum bertuenemen marahiem lapla. Nimbora plo pre plo pre plo pre plo. Dibruclo. Riboleklei paro tibis didef sala. Na ibor tiemje emo inlam. Menum predula brem labegelabelchemla. Lebogobil chalda pradibele chabre holmara chalcham. Rebol hobre golcom brechob chalabragam. Gore alper tilabroclem pa bochebet jimbela glambla. Weidumber roi brenazli. Nimboris sueuro sobre shop celogre bastilovra. Ribol alberis al ambre halbe. Erivi chavalo havele anis delivery. Ninja lavrecala fandom verstas da hadisto celada. Tivra sagillo grastinjas. Tilo varstilila salgia cegillo garisal caramilta. Meriol bargindele pacabillo habraham brapa. Biro olbertum elera palcumbertum belecambras telepocum esultum arsum celapocumanis. Niboris halia obre olpacumbertila hamze. Wecola embras simjolco irobate haliobe. Livogol gemia hoberego jolble presum juris, jobegum brujuiro vesel panimi. Mele imblahana. Nimbogo brenda stalabre combustisce labra. Ingro saltore salabran gimblingram bastilabra. Mirapol hobere sal. Mirol bestimis lagram bestur chopagum bestur shopagestas. Rebal habere camlegre vide bedis stopre dunchum. Nivorit zombla glambrum betis salabra gimbalogan meldam. Mendo bertum es salara bastis. Nendo libardo labris algumi. Rigola framble lobagi mastil yapachando lo cobertisolo bragestas la bocomestal. Mero olbertindo la brambal habrica comensilivi. Neberi palcometista la blahamadi sompairo pastis la hamasa. Vero oepere indor gemanasil da pesila. Meri il pandore salcomane vestos lobagobes ol partimil himle. Kibara hiblegar timies olbaris samia. Noi bare embra mestis labra cum corebastas laba cum soltam perucum quistiam. Kira vastel gamartiam viecham salagram. Colibidum plegoram istul caribinizum dam. My grace is sufficient for you, for power is perfected in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Corivelides el gubersil aglobargil compartiendo libana el berejumbel. Noem berejoeva wapecum estulobagisa. Regojali chambrecol chambiopetocobresal. Corifalera sinja medo bastilia barasa. Veldum barroce megram stelabogobes algobertinjo labre calpolo. Rebogomber combresium hobre golgombri combuore pastis laba. Velo oebel, vero olber tilebere hamblo, ve cumbres subcegul chemiel halbela, vere olber stelabra gambas delabra compertuna mastelhama, meibera ala brego belgambric alboro compel hobari calbere timballum bordorasa. Nimbugo bedil al belgabelimbol. melbundumber numbrasa. Wedi bosdores alimbogrom bastigeres, ombertinos albingeres, olgemengen lamires, albelti, albarium, meli obretum, golgam, erpil hamberisa, hamberis solbara hable, umbersti solabris, jebortinje pregole pres telebre hemble, mendumbero tandumer salgubere hadjoglas. Geruaginie emborashalie, Tevola obres albora sangil cumbranzos, labrigos giganjo jallos, leblegili, levrani sal alveri sal ori salmblecha, leverig halvel alcum pasalda me jompa, very old belcumus old, but him johan beiden vena, very vi imvies so vachalvik, said Jimbe durisa, jembo koi brech tilubre candidisal, Kribol chobergil kidia lubre klasum, likron de stol combre kolbere ham, ergol cambre hop daracham bogobi stol hama. Recrom mal combertana mesil blagi ulberi dol parabidumbal. Rebolbari il gabordimbal hombre. Wel dol balgi mindembar hombecha. Merwel hiblagrom pelgorecham, melo ibolcham, melgol bar gombaricham. Meorema imja sablo homanja. Meri ibjom belguber hibja. Weidebal hobere chalguber hampor habjep. Rebo oi berdimi lambor bel humbre balcum pari polbera hambrocha. Wedu ubreshul gumbestol jumbelorek. Legoria joy berinujum. Legori jolige belenjum. Lagwe min weure mol hamare. Werwel chabre ol bargil gambras, lebru hamble ol galgimbares sandos, meidum bus de medjul bormestas, jobalgumi, zombalachasim, chilobagos, tilabala. Niberti jemplegrum basti, jolabrin, no salabrin. Meiman, shobageris telebraglam, erigola plegri bil chabro galebe. Ari olbere hebs dolabras sombacatub, chimbaloca belcum, batore flachum. Merupel cumber tibor o hombrecola per chimblag machu be el portore somblagrumba. Nerubal hamaro chal cumbertura olacha. Ricol cara hambre hochipla. Nei bon torrei mal pove guam boa obersti sultum. Nibers tibos telegram bestisch labren cober di chambrus. Ligober di chambro colobagil dembre chambujulebagel cumbertiso. Nemboros soi beros salgim elgum bordoire chambre. Nerubal goibre hambra gembish dologo bero hembre alobrambos. Perial bal el barobe opresum yalaveli malabo golbeleham. Rebel combredum asal elbora hebris. Wake up, Ibel alp, ebedum olmal albel capri hambo, com mortibel habjich about, where bestus salve. When umbrestus up, legru pastiglia peru hambestusha. Nibora hapci lebogum beltama. Well ombruema, omberosa laptimi o zalambo gobistelosma. Meri paljubuchet somakale. Somalkale vat arbel halbra kumber. Legru stile habru silebreglochum bestu solbara. Rebol horebal gumbri jombrasal. Jombrasal gobesta shobre sumja salavrachum. Telubari colbremol brommehobji malgum brechum bechilobrecum elber dombresal. Rigolcum chiemenis lavlaglambastise. Merio blambra samaginul parasildaba. Nebedi hiblagrum belchabatucup celebra calbech. Meri olbartandur belachabracum best shilapacum presopacalachambros somprichingle cramitub stilabrachum. Rimbolcum brecham julobar calabra. Meri ilbaratil brambol humbedel tomacrimol barhamblo. Well, but you movini me ombest usuale etam selcum basticham. Tiro vashilia pacum bresulacem celabrechams elubagil olbed dolabresa. Leboraidil gambore halbra mingum brastigilla. Bein ombre sugem lagum belgium Gimol, peudem, pogue, bestusle, blacum, bogue, uptibuque. Waar die old peilummel, en die old peilummel zo nostel, elgum rishol comberit soptomesal. Nimini namjum, penny mini monge, meri iblabro, bestus mello bragomba, meri ilbor chombregol combestis salabra, merbi jolgrum becum regum, regum bestumbre, suibre humbre gustipsla, veri ilbor rumge lagrimis talbre, well orbel hambre obrembelgum bestumbre humbre quenibidista. Quedibis tuadibilich, orbilich himbra, meli ibrastule hamragum bestu saldum bestamauses, tamiro sal eripicilbragum belhalbelacham, wali ilbar elbar dumbrero anambre olbaridum blagrum belgum batura. Tividi olbre obrastasha ebesum by humja. Verum al joberas, legum bastril jobartimelas, legum anistal yamarim liabro glomresa, vil de basilia fachum pestus sombortum missilcabara, recol cambrichim brecundes stup shalovel gisol alcobarsti salabra, ren comprendos talieme, rebola hambres tu shovelega hambium chuegua. Chuegue ombre costalibri custis labricha, nimborgo destimisal, nimborgo resol chombes to saleb, leguri changrumbes tu jalhomersal, nimbal pariab chiblagrom bachambres, bastu jobal gubres albes, merubal chumbela jubelegim brenjum brido sambre sholgum bresum gilabresa, estumili clobrecha, educol cemberatal, nimbro alberti blachumberro nosta. Neoromel arbelgi dandolcem broi brohomostus labrogum belgiobile ombrestus, velo bresolabra en bordelgam lahamble, lebogum brechobrecum toveresam, jenkrosti jol crebesti shalagres, crebesti jokers targil dambrostes labra, rebel or pleberekil pal plebelogo barati lo maruni. Maru olbari amblo parindambala. Mio ormelina I amborisal ebroham besti lebiligul ben duolabra. Welebri olbari usbla ibogomastil, wedo orbenina subjet hamble globla, meri objal capasti celebrahem, rivolohom dombrano stalabra progebel chimia salabla. O cemidi chalgum estubrisal. Meribilgium belegamini amborti labium verte shalafi. Mefile flobre ol caveli gambocha bjimla. Meriub chomelanjim blim blang lambra paropalimba dore palas ul orobes. Ulebere ostalabragim olpi cambro. Levogum blechum bartimis. Egrusalgim yon juare hasta. Mingore selcia berhomges. Legura silja ebrachum plegomestilia maho. Meura belchama, meura balecham bera primia chimiligolpa, weli ila paracham bestus labagahom, quenis tolberi salium, evlior melberi silbiligomaha. Wel berucha labri humberi bolberim emboio pacam, obeo embertella brambarachem illadem istilis labra, rebiliacha merialoboho. Meribilia piano hamasta, Meria gobetsi livle kebedici digligrim blecho, brenjopsla, kremba, skim blachom blech, joibre, melbi imle, ipra mista, queli ibro shalbere sal embra lochem, veli merina malbere hambres, Wendomberis tam juarigul ham elugumbanjol logomestas. Lovedi uomo poi per chupa e bitu subagvedimal mo. Eribil jobara heblogre melkamarinum jas. Well ambros silda pastus lobagabestas. Well oporitimeli hambros. Well ogoberistas olgobere salchum. Well ogorisham chogoberistas lavara hambas. Weo boy bejumba humbestus, labagumistol hoberecham, Welogumestam lagromestulipti choblegromacha, Welo obrestus shalabagembas, olbegurisal, Ricosturu sterobogombres al obregrobras, Welo por combeltore hambres saltabachambra, Megomandambro subturloblaglam, Welo borobcham voi convertibashum legum bechalablicam, olbalgubla humble. Welo pori obte solobrahambas gulabricha. Jemo do breunumers te celebrakim do stelbrugum bel groiberistam jolsombelega edibol groibeli ammai tumalvi we os di zoita mesas timor side bestila pras tivor stiemme kimina valimindes veli vo imbres do jebogumestesla pelibidista salbrocombes mai baro hambres do jumbocombresal Rebalchara bech dilebregol chabegol cambres do shalabracom perdolasa, Welo obres alberti miswa ebol dim bromalare, Meura pilde braguminis do shlabraglam, Merol bertum bretomalaris albendum gros teveranim stilebrecum bregonim bustoblagrim, Irgolcom bredovalim barombes dusa labro gropras, Jevolu hombrea jamlegla, Mendo bortombe grondos subsalig ibistol ebrasamis. Subista la capcimala glimbos tolebricha. Mel por chimli glox, rimbla hamare clabragomist, alebedi bijuvala braglabla. Eribigilo bragloberi hambli gloprin dol bortemra salab jamacho, mero ubista slabragomostus labra. Wet job blabamo fisa. Meri postimis lobra campesti jobacho brali baco bracho aripogo velemindo balambo. Meri ibro chambalgo bestahan fis. Mendi bozesta lavrasim bochumbesa lavengas te fedja malkim bato vedarste saltov. Lever combes tuveresum mirum blagarum bistum jerobragim astibili pro plaprum blarumas. Perio bal chobere col camaracin labrangom briopch da labrama. Meru agel lambro gale bella chambro. Jemoro joicava idjeva chalvili di soltaravacham. Tivora clembras elborachom bistolarachis dolabraitin malaurechem. Rivoloimi elboriombal, we dombro chobarami. Welo obrest al obricubal camporochama. Erubol hobreganestes labrogum bertuzebelisal, weli ubroshalagim. Eribol hobet jal hobegun dimbros tobegistas alabra. Ribos saldoberigo solovarecham, yebogop heleberigum bostopichelgum basim. Wedu bas timjo chure, polgum brestum lob, jublegav. Melobaribla brongol varedalium, merobal libres de labrombes. Jembon chueura salibitum edo bocamela salbla. Meridinjos algoberisalia baromestam julaham. Mero aldambra albaricol. Melo aldamba algeliber el balhalkeri la hadinja. Lebor idlo habigol queerus juaminisam. Veri im justalabragum kel curabilichem brastalabragum. Veri ijuval abrusamalham. Amen, wow, man, de slavove, di sommejul, da baligumbrigul, da bejubagumbestul, jebojum buegumos. Levorgubigi lieversin, salabrahimbra, rebi ul belchabregel combres som jusolvari gestisla. Balchabedi jalgum berti salgum bresopicella, rico challik rebel cori balcum bertumi salabla. Meri olbaritinial arboloi beresal, melo olbaritania labragombel combertaniminos salabrahambes, velo obresto bacil capra sebel hambro selapaco umbreso bacila habregol cali hable omal embrasalam, belli umbre ol becomtomba, meri olgamber talabarina, meri olbaregombla harila hombarela, mari olbarehandem, Welo obertola pcheblegilicham, welo holabraglam blochomangil tapar sambro shamblogram. Beri albor hop chambro chumeur satchamir compstilio hamasil dapa. Erigol colle hamrakla lapujulibi abreu jumpel comedicium. Wedi botchte bella hambre so poco vistil cabrasalcum. Well a cumbre chumala grambos to sholobregal. Well a pro me hajim le hambo cobichil. Meru olbarti mil hable glomacha. Well a bremil hambergin labragum bel paratinib slabrocomesta. We imbos tu jobe kim jore som betjolgum des te shumblagrum meister labjim limbrosum joikenemestal combartimus jan jorecanemeristal mirostali brestamasil de begin bistal abricol camenis elvedium warimels masubalagistum shualik wafuidopal wedbilium brigul quarilombres alberi somwe comwe cowe de bresil Nebelicho bregal kama, elgo barachalebrion dastimisa. Nimblos salari vesta lavragim galchemidjung guela fra. Nibola chabrio lovreval viebogelgim allarbili abadjom. Rebilicham lagrum. Mebri bojopere salham. Erival chalavere canjum plasto bagalacham. Meru alpoream bostela bracam bestola bragacham. Wedugum bestilarchum bestula braxim, legorahim la obrek lombragela mandolaham. Elobokhoye berhaman angel comedy chamble, vericol comedy lebre obrechum gin locrima salabjim. Wigola habricot stolaharasal Wedi jolobrecan de bestilivri, ligorisalia brihaligo vericendigel, enivolo hombres olbericutiam yellowhooks. Meri olepsis salabracusti salabracistal. Kiro la hambre gol cobre hombreha. Cobri cholobolachem galahamji. Rebola hombre elberin jamblagin neda lavanda bojola. Yebojol labor hambre cholbraham. Ribo jomblek o pastilla brahembla. Meri olbari doiba gerachem yagumestus labregalcam. Well habri sal habari dochal. Well abrit sam stolobra compechemini gel cobri handus salavra. Well obridgel cobri salcem instal. Meri olparesim gela hobrica solo comeri silchamala. Meri oblach obereshol obragelecham. Legura halber, olgela halbel. Robel halbirigol galgaribol hombre. Soplaro hobgel opras til jopaci loprageli mohamelir. Meber doivre nas tu sholovechumbis. Erichabia im austilevere him. Meri il libresa, maybe il libresalpa. Elberisilgimista, elgisimiligilhasa. Jerusinjas, neborihastis, meri ol bresser malasim, ribo ol bertimili angram bastumse. Meri ol bartimili salpa. Meri ul baridol barampel gomartencha plagrimbe sambel gomaritinja lobrenosa. El ponumtiamia. Nueri orebidista orebisita celebigostal. Megalicho wetini bisalchum puarigolichum waide besal. Wedi ubjole beregel caminis stadium bosto. No petishal. No prebelich. Well, that was it for today. Tomorrow, update. Till then, may the real way, Yahweh, speak well of you, guard and encourage you. May the real way, Yahweh, light up their face to you and give grace to you. May the real way, Yahweh, watch out for you, smile, and give you peace. May the mind-blowing peace of God keep your feelings with joy and thought, well-oiled, useful, safe and sound, saved from depths crush, bugs crash, and text creeping grounds. May you live in the scheme of Al-Aha, the name of God, Allah, the compassionate, the merciful, the manager of all conditional probability networks in all conditional multiverses, the set of all sets, the Lord of all lords, the King of all kings, the God of all gods, the ultimate reality without equal. God is mystery and the master of all mysteries. Made in the image of God, I'm a mystery too, and so are you. Well, see you then tomorrow.